So you have studied about this unconventional topic of the role of cannabis in enhancing creativity, something that definitely sparks curiosity among the students.
Sure.
So what were your key takeaways from this research, and how do you connect it in the broader discussion about creativity at work?
That's a very good question. And we are in Singapore. So I just want to say that I strongly discourage anyone who want to experiment on cannabis, any kind of drug. So that paper started in 2021 during COVID. So just like most people, we all suffered to some extent during COVID. And at that time, I was in a hard spot psychologically because I'm a social person, and COVID really prohibited me from being social. So I started to think about and work on different research topic. And one thing that really excited me is at that time I had been listening to a lot of podcasts, just like this one. And two things stood out to me at that time. One was a podcast between Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. And it's not about the content per se. Is during the podcast, Elon Musk famously and popularly smoked cannabis and probably other drugs on the show with Joe Rogan. And then he subsequently made the claim that he does it all the time at the workplace, smoking weed and other substances, because he believed that doing so make him more creative. And I had this idea that, he's Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, very smart, very famous. Is he right about that, right? Or if he's right, is it applicable, is it generalizable to the general population? So I was talking to this idea, this podcast, sharing this along with my colleagues, and one colleague specifically in the U.S. at that time in Seattle, Washington. Really we talk about it. We just hit it off, and I had this idea about running a study, a true RCT, randomized control trial, to assign some individuals to consume cannabis and some to not consume cannabis in a waiting room, and just test their creativity after either they have consumed or not consumed cannabis. So this was done in Seattle, Washington, which is entirely legal. Consuming cannabis for recreational purposes is entirely legalized. Not done in Singapore, so we follow every single rules. Moreover, we also apply for the ethics approval necessary at both institutions, meaning that the universities in Seattle as well as in the US have approved this study. And in this study, we basically looked at a few outcomes. So of course, the most important thing is creative output. Do these individuals, after smoking cannabis, do they become more creative, as rated by third parties? We also measure two other relevant outcomes. The first is the self-rating of creativity. Do they themselves believe that they're more creative or less creative? And the third outcome, which is how would they evaluate other people's creativity? You think about in the workplace, if you're a middle manager, the subordinate come with you with ideas, you have to evaluate those ideas, their merit, their creativity. If you're not accurate in that will lead to trouble. So we have three findings because we have three dependent variables. So first, we find that in general, when people consume cannabis or weed, they report themselves as being more creative. However, as rated by third party, they're no more or no less creative. So in other words, subjectively, they believe they're more creative. Objectively, they are no worse or no better in creativity. Now, the third outcome, do they actually rate others' creative ideas to be higher, lower, or similar in creativity? We find that under the influence of cannabis, people in general find all ideas to be creative. They see butterflies in the world. They are not discriminatory of bad ideas. So we have two conclusions in this study. So first is that if your workforce, if your followers, if your team members are smoking weed when they do their creative tasks, it will not harm their performance. It will not help them, but it will not harm them. It will make them feel even better about themselves because they see themselves as being better, although it's most likely a subjective bias. But more worrying is that if you're a leader like Elon Musk, if you use cannabis when you evaluate your subordinate, your team's idea, you will likely be biased in favor of ideas that are not very good because you're under the influence of cannabis. So in general, we don't find a positive effect. We typically find a effect that's biasing leaders to think of all ideas as being good and creative, which is not good for organization.